Today's subject is going to use so much brain processing power that I need something to keep it all in there, keep it warm. Much better. Yet again, Beatles lyrics have opened my mind to another dimension of reality. And yet again, lyrics from Strawberry Fields, specifically, Nothing is Real. It's something I've heard over and over again, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, nothing is real. I've just had these realizations. I'm being serious, I'm not joking around. I've been having realizations where it's like, nothing really is real. Now you might be like, Frank, if I took a stick and hit you in the head, then you'd be like, oh, that's real. And that really hurt, Charlie. Yeah, okay, so that's reality, but I'm just starting to realize how much of what you just take for granted as being reality is not reality. It's not real. Nothing. Because every area of life and everything is affected by this illusion of reality. I first started thinking about this. This is slightly different, but not really, about how everything in life is like theater. Every interaction has some element of theater to it. There's nothing like truly authentic. We're all just playing roles. We're all either following some expected thing consciously or unconsciously, or we're consciously or unconsciously going against the expected role in society. And you might be like, well, Frank, me and my girlfriend, me and my boyfriend, we are very authentic. Me and my mama, very authentic. No, I don't think so. I think you're still playing roles. It's still all theater. We're all, as Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage. All the men and women merely players. It's because you can't avoid it. Once you are born, once you get to the age of, I don't know, 1.5 or 2, whenever you have the first realization that if I say what I think, or if I am totally authentic, that's going to make this other person react negatively, and it will affect me negatively. Once that happens, once that realization happens, you've put on the mask, and you've joined the play. You are in the play now, and everything is theater from then on out. You can't get away from it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that's the way it is. And the thing is, as soon as you realize that, life gets so much easier, and everything is just so much more straightforward. And it's something that I've kind of realized forever. This is not like a new realization. Well, it's one of those things I've known just inherently, and it seemed like second nature. Like, yeah, we all play roles, so I should know what role I'm playing, and I should know how to act in these situations. And of course, I've heard many times, all the world's a stage and all that, but how it's just like you can hear something and know it, but all of a sudden one day it's just like, oh, you just get that feeling of, oh, it really all is just theater. And I say it makes it easier to know that and realize that and just accept it and embrace it, because if you don't know that, it's like you're in a play and you don't know the script. You're on stage and everyone else is going off of a script. Maybe they don't even know that they're going off of a script, but you're like, no, there's no script. This is real life. But no, it's not. Well, it is real life, but it's not. Do I make sense? No. This is like an old-fashioned vlog where I kind of just, I'm just unwinding a thought and seeing where the yarn ball goes. And I'm like a little kitten pawing at it and pushing it around the room. What? So that's just in social situations. And that's like the more obvious thing. But then there's this other element of everything else in reality is being seen. I'm not seeing reality as would that be reality qua reality? I don't know if I'm using that term correctly, but I'm not seeing it just as it is. I'm seeing it from my vantage point, whatever that is, through the lens of everything in my mind. And everyone is doing this, and everyone thinks that what they are seeing is not their, fractured, fragmented view of reality, but they think it is reality. And that's where so many conflicts come in. Frank, are you like a moral relativist and all that? No, I'm just. This really comes down more to stuff where it's like being constantly afraid in life. And, I've talked about this from time to time, but fear is a big thing in my life, especially fear of failure, fear of social stuff. And it's freeing to all of a sudden realize, first of all, that it's all theater. It's not real. And then to realize that what I think is reality is just a bunch of mental projections. And that the mental projections are oftentimes negative. And if you can just lay down the negative ones, I think you may never see reality. Let's just say you won't. You won't, I won't. This is impossible. That's what the gurus say. When you awaken, you're seeing reality as it is. I don't know. But if you realize that you're not seeing it, at least you can kind of switch out one reality for another if you work at it. I've talked about how mine is often negative, just thinking things are always going to go bad, being kind of pessimistic about it. But what if you just turned it around and you just started believing? It's weird. On the one hand, I'm afraid. I'm always like, oh, things are going to turn out badly. But then on the other hand, I'm like wildly optimistic about certain things. I'm like, yeah, everything will work out. Why not? Why shouldn't it happen that way? I mean, ultimately, and maybe I'm kind of like a pessimistic optimism through pessimism. When you think about it, it's like everything is doomed to failure eventually at some point. So why not just go into it being like, well, I'll make the best of it while I can? Meaning, we're all going to die. So why get wrapped up in temporary failures along the way? Because ultimately there will be this big failure of our bodies, of our heart, our brain. You know what I'm saying? You can take that on a smaller scale in a way of like, I've started to go into certain things being like, this is going to be a big failure, but it's okay. It's supposed to be a failure. Like starting a new project, a new business project. Sometimes even just starting a video on this channel, I'm like, this is going to be a disaster or whatever. I'm going to do it anyway. And then it turns out way better than I ever expected. But if I went into it thinking, oh no, it's got to be great, I've got to do it right, that's too much pressure. And it's this reality like, oh no, this is hard. I'm not going to be able to do it well. And that's holding me back from doing my best. Whereas if I just drop that reality and say, eventually it'll all work out, and I might fail, and I probably will fail, but it's okay. Who cares? It'll all work out eventually. That makes it much easier because you're free to do whatever. That's the connection with that in the social situations. Like, I talk about social anxiety and being more sociable and extroverted and crap, but there's a lot of social anxiety that I've dealt with where it's like, I don't want to talk to those people. I feel afraid, I feel scared. But if you go into it thinking, I'm gonna bomb, these people are gonna hate me, whatever, I'm gonna fail, who cares, let's just do it, and it's just practice. This isn't the end all be all, it's just practice. This is just a practice. We're not talking about a game, we're talking about practice. And if you look at look at everything in life, it's just practice, whatever. So what? Oh wow, the pressure's off. Now I'm free to actually be myself. That one, what is it, my last video, the video before last, to talk about being yourself and how it's a big mistake. A lot of times it's a big mistake because you're not really being yourself until you have freed yourself. Like that Graham Nash song, Be Yourself. So that's all I'm trying to say, is that nothing is real. Obviously, there is some reality. Obviously, if I stick my hand into boiling water, reality is going to smack me in the face, or really it's going to burn my hand. But so much of what we think is reality is just in our head. And we don't question it, and we don't question that it's reality or not. And sometimes when you have these breakthroughs, especially when you look at this idea of everything in life is theater, it's sort of like, have you ever been on stage? Like if you've seen a play and you're like, oh, that's a realistic set, it looks like a house or whatever. And then you go on stage, and suddenly you see, as soon as you cross a certain angle that the audience can't see anymore, you see all of the stuff that you're not supposed to see. You see the backs of the walls, and you see the stuff holding up the scenery, and you're like, oh, it's all scenery. It's all theater. Oh my gosh, I thought it was real. And sometimes in life, you see the underpinnings of stuff. You see the behind the scenes stuff, and you're like, what? Well, that was just all that was all fake. Just in something simple. What initially made me think of this, it was like a snowball effect of thoughts. Was I was just thinking about business and how, when you go into a business, whatever it is, a coffee shop, anything, it's like, oh, this is a business. I'm going in to this business, and it is a thing. It is an entity. But then if you work for one of these things, you realize, oh, it's just a bunch of people, and we're all following a bunch of rules that we've all agreed on. There's nothing real about it, And I just began, because it's freeing to realize that, because there's the old adage, fake it till you make it. The thing is, everyone's faking it. There's nothing is real. Everyone who is confident and like successful in business or whatever, successful in relationships, successful in whatever you want to be successful in, they just learned the role to play. They learned the game. They just went with it. There's nothing special to it. Anyone can do it. That's the whole point, is that if you just realize how many things are not real, then the world is opened up to you, because now you can navigate it properly. So many people go through it like everything is life and death, everything is serious, everything is really, really real. You know that Jeff Buckley song, So Real? It's a great song. Lyrically not terribly relevant except for so real, but just popped in my head. And when you make things too real, you freak yourself out, and the stakes become too high. Stakes is high, de la soul. This is part of awakening, I think, is just realizing everything is fake. Nothing is real. I think John Lennon, he was awakening. Or he just took LSD, one of the two. I mean, I know he took LSD, so that's what it was. But if you can realize that, all of a sudden the stakes are way lower. Oh, this is just practice. This is just a rehearsal. This is just a play. Nothing is real. I mean, if you find yourself in a life and death situation, then maybe it's a little more real. But even then, it's like, okay. I mean, that's why people, the gurus and whatever, say you need to meditate on death, because if you can really wrap your brain around that, I mean, it's not possible to fully do that, but if you can really confront death and find a way to accept it, suddenly it's like nothing, absolutely nothing is real, because death is the worst thing that can happen to you, really, because it's the end, and it's the realest thing in a way, like that's the consequence that's really the one to watch out for. Like if I take a big risk and I lose a lot of money or something, it doesn't matter. But if I take a risk and I die, it's sort of a big deal. But if you can meditate on that, on death, and come to a point where it's like not even that is really that big of a deal or that real, oh my gosh, you're set, baby. I'm not suggesting to be reckless and not value your life. Of course, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying when you can start to release how real, how serious it all is, that's when you can really just live life rather than worry through life, rather than being obsessed with getting it all right. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you liked it. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this. Was it total nonsense? Total trippy, hippie stuff? Or was there a nugget of truth in there? Or at the very least, did I drop the title of a song that you like? Let me know. Subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned for another video on Sunday. Till then, stay cool and attractive.